Hello there, lovely people. It's Alex from Nintendo Live here, and today we're going to take you through what we believe to be the most exciting games coming to the Nintendo Switch in the month of February. As always, this is not an exhaustive list. There's going to be loads of games coming that we don't mention. These are just the ones that are announced and that pique our interest the most. But anyway, that's more than enough waffling. Let's dive right into things. Starting things off on the 5th of February, we have While Waiting, which is difficult for me to say because I tend to say whilst. This is a game about putting you in situations where you have to wait and finding something to do with your time. On paper, it sounds terrible, but the presentation and the true-to-life-ness about it is really selling me. I'm not 100% sure whether it's trying to encourage patience or trying to encourage you to find ways around being patient. I'm really keen to see what the game presents and what weird and wacky things you can do with it. It might well be one of those games where you end up playing it once and you never really go back to it, but I don't know, there's a place for games like that these days, and I'm looking forward to it. Next up on the 11th of February, we have Sid Meier's Civilization 7. Now, it was surprising enough when Civ 6 came to the Switch, and it's even more surprising to me that this sequel is being launched day and day with the Switch. Fair play to Firaxis. I'm naturally really excited to see all the new stuff they've got to show off in this version, but more than anything, I'm gagging to see how this is going to run on Switch. You know, we're on the cusp of Switch 2, and we're getting Civ 7 on the original Switch. What timeline are we living in? Next up, also on the 11th of February, we have Undying, which is a game that I don't think is going to be for everyone because it's not a light experience. You play as a mother in a zombie apocalypse, and unfortunately, you get bitten, and what you choose to do with what little time you have left is teach your son how to survive so that he doesn't suffer the same fate, which is pretty, like, kicking the balls galling. Truth be told, I am a little bit sort of tired of the whole zombie apocalypse setting, but at the same time, this is such an interesting and fresh take on it. I'm not saying it's never been done before, but I've never seen a game take this particular angle, at least in my experience, and that's really exciting. Are there going to be a load of instances where you've got to teach your son the right way, but you don't want them to be too aggressive or distrustful of people, but at the same time you don't want him to fall into traps and get killed? Oh, it's a really nuanced and delicate idea, and I hope that it plays out. I mean, it's reviewed well on Steam, so I have reasonable confidence, but not gonna know until I actually get my hands on it. Regardless, it's definitely exciting to me. Moving on the 12th of February, we have Urban Myth Dissolution Center, which is a mystery game based all around fantastical myths and the paranormal. It's got a really striking pixel art style, and yeah, pixel art's been done a lot, but you know what? It can look great, and this is an instance where they get it absolutely spot on. Really chunky pixels and using them to their advantage. I'm not just gonna talk about the art style, but I am a sucker for them. I always think it's fun when you take something like the paranormal, you know, something that doesn't exist, and merge it with something so almost mundane as like a big, presumably like government office building that's just like, oh yeah, we've got to deal with all the paranormal anomalies. I don't know what it is. That always is really fun to me, and it's by no means like a super original idea, never been done before or anything, but I think it works supremely well. Looks super cool. I love a good mystery as well. It's a difficult thing to balance, but I've got hopes that this one's going to do it. It is only hopes because I haven't played the game, but that's the risk we have to take when we recommend games we haven't played rather than doing a full review. Moving on the 14th of February, we have Tomb Raider 4-6 Remastered. Now, I never grew up playing the Tomb Raider games, but then when they re-released the 1-3 on Switch, I had a good time with them. I do feel that they've aged a fair bit, but I don't think that's a bad thing. You know, I'd much rather these games get released kind of warts and all sometimes, unless it's like a full-on remake. And aside from some strange decisions and errors like you couldn't, I swear, you couldn't get out of the boat using the modern controls at one point. I'm assuming they fixed that. But besides that, I think 1-3 were done really well, and I'm keen to see what they're going to do for 4-6. Presumably, Much of the same. I'm particularly interested to see what they do with Chronicles, the 5th Tomb Raider game, not because I played it or anything like that, but because I'm aware that it was released on PlayStation and Dreamcast. So which version are they going to use as the base? I don't know, maybe there's no massive difference between the two. I am not familiar with the Tomb Raider games, but whenever it comes to these re-releases, I'm always interested to see which version they pick from, you know? Who knows? They'll probably end up using the PC version or something. Also on the 14th of February, we have After Love EP. It's another tearjerker like Undying, hooray! You play as a young lad who is basically trying to get over the death of his girlfriend, which, I mean, that should be all I need to say to make you realize that this is not gonna be an easy ride. It's not big, it's not flashy, you're not saving the world or anything like that. It is a real slice of life game, and I love those sort of things. It's set in Jakarta as well, and I don't know many games that are set in Indonesia. It's just a nice, different setting for a change. Themes like mourning and loss are not really covered in video. I mean, they are covered in video games, but they're fantastical losses. You know, it's still arguably just as serious, but when it's real, like it's a real life situation, it's not fantasy, it's not Sephiroth sacrificing himself to save the Chocobos. I've never played Final Fantasy VII. It's real loss, real mourning, and real depression. That's tough. That's a difficult thing to get right, but from the looks of it, it could be absolutely nailing it. And it's one of those things where I'm excited to play it, but also kind of fearful, because it's a big fear of mine, losing my wife. I don't want that to happen. I'm looking forward to it. And I don't even play guitar. Also on the 14th of February, we have The Legend of Heroes Trails Through Daybreak 2. I remember covering another game in this series and someone in the comments saying, actually, it's Trials. It's not, it's Trails. Cards on the table, this isn't really my kind of game, but I can still appreciate things even if they don't appeal to me personally. I can still look at it and say, hey, the people who like these games, they're going to be excited for this. I also get help from all my colleagues. Once again, we've got a game releasing day in day on Nintendo Switch as well as all other platforms. And this isn't like a small indie game that can be easily ported to something like Switch. I just think it's so exciting and so rewarding to see games like this still being ported. Imagine what it's gonna happen with the Switch 2. Try talking about the game, Alex. How about that? Interestingly, for an RPG, or at least this was the case with the previous game, I assume it's the same in this one. I can't tell for sure. You can choose between turn-based or real-time combat, which is kind of a fun and original idea. I don't know how you'd balance something like that, but people like these games. Clearly they're doing something right. Looks good. It's not for me, but it looks good. And finally, jumping all the way to the 28th of February, we have Amiga 6 The Triangle Stars, or Omega 6 The Triangle Stars, or Omega 6 The Triangle Stars. People say words differently, get over it. For anyone unfamiliar, this is based on a manga series by Takaya Imamura, who has worked on things like Majora's Mask, Star Fox, F-Zero, if you couldn't tell from the art style. But obviously, this is his own thing, and I thought, oh, is it going to be some sort of space shooter like Star Fox, or space racing game like F-Zero or something to that effect? It's a retro-styled first-person adventure, more fool me. It's, I think, a really bold direction to go for a game like this, because all things considered, this isn't going to be like a huge release, and it's going for something quite niche at the same time in terms of its style and the way that the gameplay is going to pan out. I mean, I suppose that's the sensible way to do it, but I feel like it's a big gamble. I really do hope it pays off. I used to play games like this when I was growing up, and I'm getting that real feel again of that sort of first-person perspective, but in a way that doesn't really happen anymore. Maybe it's the 4:3 aspect ratio or something like that in the pixel art. I don't know. All I know is that this is tickling my nostalgia gland, and I'm a happy boy. And there you have it. Those are, in our opinion, the most exciting games coming to the Nintendo Switch in the month of February. But did we miss something important? Is there a game you're gaga about that we didn't even mention? How dare we? Let us know with a comment down below. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you let us know whether you're subscribed down below, and no febbing now. Feb. Be sure to check out NintendoLife.com for all sorts of lovely Nintendo-related content. Thank you again for watching. Bye-bye. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, then why don't you tell us that you're... February, what? Moving on to the 14th of February, we have Tomb Raider 6... No, that... I've written 6 to 6 in my notes. In the month of February... Something, wasn't it?